documents reveal that PDS paid the required $8 million premium to secure insurance guarantees to finance its takeover of ECG power distribution. But the money appears not to have reached the reinsurers in Qatar. We plot for you the trail of documents that is raising further questions about the deal to take over power distribution in Ghana. Then later, the NDC minority is alleging political patronage and a scheme to rip off the taxpayer, leading to the suspension of the ECG concession arrangement with PDS.
Government and officialdom are neck deep in this failed attempt to create, loot, and share.
We have a reaction from the Information Minister, who has also been addressing a news conference as government issues a 30-day deadline for completion of probe into the scandal.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Brought to you by Gasem Cement, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready. And today, the future is now. And as far as that controversy regarding the PDS and ECG takeover power distribution is concerned, there's a latest twist. And it's a Joy News exclusive from documents we have secured tonight that actually shows that PDS indeed paid the required premium to secure the insurance guarantees. But it appears tonight that that amount may not have reached its intended target and recipients in Qatar, the reinsurers. We're going to break it down for you tonight, and we're going to also plot for you the trail of documents that led to the discovery of what government sources have called a grand scheme to defraud the people of Ghana. As we begin to understand how all this unfolded and unraveled, but also questions about, so where is the huge sums of money, almost $12 million that PDS indeed paid to secure the guarantees? Stay with us as we get into that for you. And then later I will tell you, bring you details of the press conference that Kojo Ponkrumah has been addressing in the last hour or so, in which he now lays out government's plan to resolve this particular problem within 30 days. And some of the key things also he's been laying out is going to happen now. We are now also beginning to understand why a government delegation, we now heard from Kojo Ponkrumah, will be leaving Ghana next week Tuesday to Qatar. We're now getting a proper understanding of why that particular trip is necessary, because the document you're about to tell you can be pretty confusing, and we'll try and break it down for you with the experts who understand how the transactions unfolded. The NDC minority also today held a press conference. They also produced documents of their own. They claim shows that the finance minister knew about the fraudulent nature of the guarantees all along, but did nothing until now. Well, the information minister has a response to that. They're also alleging collusion to create, loot and share by MPP cronies. Well, all that here as we begin to break this all down for you. My colleague Raymond Aqua joins me in the studio. Raymond, let's start from what we know so far. And now we have the documents to back what we know. Yes. Two things we knew as of yesterday and the day before when we first broke this story on PM Express. One, that we have been told by government that it was ECG that did the due diligence that actually first spotted that something was amiss. We have that ECG documentation that started this nightmare we are in. What does that document say? When, first of all, when was that document written?
24th of June 2019. And the people who are supposed to be recipients of this particular document is Osman Haq Musa. And that name has run to our conversation all through. He is the Chief Officer General Insurance, Akut Insurance and Reinsurance Company, PJSC, PO Box 24563 in Doha, Qatar. And he's been copied to the Chief Executive Officer of Akut, who is Ahmed Rafi El Mahdi. Now, the attention clearly is Mr. Haq Musa and
Okay.
says, "Dear sir."
Now, just a second. The timelines are important. This letter is dated 24th June.
2019.
Now, we know that the PDS were handed full control, formal control, 1st of March.
Yes.
So March, April, May, June.
4 months.
4 months before the ECG letter goes in to try and verify the authenticity of the documentation they have covering the guarantees.
Certainly.
So that sets the state for this. Now let's go on.
Now it says that the title is copy of due authorization of Mr. Al Nouri to execute demand guarantees ACDP.
Well, there are a lot of numbers. Just to tell you that
so
these are
two of these guarantees for the avoidance of doubt.
This Al Nouri.
Yes.
Just let's break down who he is. Al Nouri is the individual you've heard who allegedly fraudulently misrepresented himself as the authorized individual representing Al Qut in Qatar, seized with the power of attorney to sign and bind Al Qut to the deal. This is our individual. One thing we know tonight is that he is indeed an employee
of Al Qut.
We'll tell you his exact designation as we go on.
Okay, now the letter proceeds by saying reference is made to your letter dated 13th of March 2019, to which you confirm that Mr. Yahya Al Nouri, manager reinsurance.
So he is manager reinsurance. The man who signed the documents and we accepted it as legit.
Demand guarantees.
As demand guarantees. That's his position.
Was duly authorized and mandated to execute and deliver the aforementioned demand guarantees on behalf of Al Qut Insurance, a reinsurance company.
So let's summarize this for you, because there's a lot to read and we don't want to do that to bore you. This particular letter Raymond just cited, ECG is writing to Al Qut.
Yeah.
They're writing to an individual. Yesterday we told you who that individual was here on Top Story. But just to recap, that individual is the chief executive really responsible for such deals. And he was supposed to have signed this document. His name, as we know from yesterday, we brought you that, is
Osman Musa Haq.
Is a chief executive, general insurance.
Yes.
So,
Osman Haq Musa.
Good. He's the person. So ECG is now writing to him and to say, we've dealt with this individual, Mr. Al Nouri. Does he have the legal authority to bind Al Qut to this deal? And ECG explains why they're doing that, because of the volumes of money involved.
Yes.
It's so huge that we need to check this and make sure that he can indeed sign and bind your entire institution to this particular deal.
Certainly.
In essence, that's what ECG was writing to.
That's all that he wrote to about.
So
now, response.
Al Qut receives it. To be very specific, Osman Haq Musa receives it and then writes.
Yeah.
In response to ECG's letter of 24th June.
Yes, directed to Engineer Samuel Boachidankwa, the managing director of ECG, and the subject is copy of due authorization of Mr. Al Nouri to execute demand guarantees. It says, Dear Samuel, we write further to your letter reference, and it's been stated there in connection with the above subject. We thank you for carrying out a due diligence on the authority of the person executing the guarantee and bringing this to our attention. Please note that we are shocked and surprised to know of the existence of any guarantee issued by Al Qut Insurance and Reinsurance Company in favor of Electricity Company of Ghana. Al Qut is not permitted by its constitutional documents to underwrite counterparty and right and trade risk. For any undertaking to bind Al Qut, it must be a duly processed authorized product line approved and executed by the authorized signatories of Al Qut. In the case of the guarantees,
just to break that down, it's simple. Al Qut is telling us that even the product you're seeking, we don't deal in that.
That's not what we're dealing.
We don't deal in that product line at all. And so we are shocked that you say somebody had come to sign it on our behalf. Let's go on.
Okay, so that point is made there. They proceed to say that the letter sent on the 13th of March 2019, bearing the reference as has been indicated, the response, however, was part of the fraud and misrepresentation on the part of the person or employee who had fabricated the issuance of the guarantees.
Okay, so here they are admitting that the man who indeed claimed to be representing, yes, he is an employee.
Al Nouri individual.
Yeah, he's an employee. We know him.
Yes.
But he doesn't have the authority to do what he did.
Yes.
Let's go on.
It proceeds to say that the signature on the response was forged. You can compare the signature on the response with my actual signature in this letter or with the specimen signature annexed to this letter.
So here's the thing, breaking down this further. This individual who's an employee, Mr. Al-Nuri, indeed forged, well, according to the company themselves, forged the signature of his boss.
Yeah, Musa Hag,
who was actually supposed to sign the thing.
Yeah.
He forged a signature in the dealings with Ghana and PDS and everybody else, claiming that, I have.
And he's given evidentiary documents, including the list letter, to show that compare the two signatures.
Yeah.
And he said that there's a difference.
Yeah, let's go on.
And proceed to say that the person forging the signature did not realize that even if the actual authorized signatory had signed the guarantees, it would not have been valid as it was not an approved product line and was beyond the single authority of any authorized signatory.
The amounts involved too huge that no one person
very good
representing our could have claimed that we've executed this deed.
So they are making categorical statements now. We said that after considering all that have gone through, these are the categorical statements that our court is making. The guarantees are ab initio, null and void, as they have been fraudulently manipulated and managed by some employees of our court without authority. 2, we deny the existence of guarantees.
Ending zero, as they say.
Yes.
Nothing exists.
Not at all.
Okay.
So, and proceed to say that the guarantees are obtained by fraud, and that is very apparent from the conduct of the issuer. We are carrying out internal investigation in this regard, which is being handled at the highest level of management.
Okay. I mean, let's summarize it up. They end by telling us that they are going to take legal action.
Yeah.
Internal disciplinary procedures, including legal action against Mr. Yaya Al-Nuri, who misrepresented himself to Ghana. And they were very emphatic at the end, repeating the point that we don't have any deal with you and will not accept any legal liabilities because you've been deceived. End of story. But that is not all there is to this. This is what we know so far. Now, this is the fresh information. This is where it even gets even more murkier and more complex and possibly confusing, but we'll try and break it down for you. So, what do we know today about the attempts that PDS made to indeed legitimately pay the premiums and secure these guarantees?
Okay, so we have a letter. This letter is from Car Bank. It's dated the 21st of February 2019, prior to the main concession being taken over. It is directed straight to the Chief Executive Officer, Millennium Development Authority, MIDA, and the address is there. And its attention, Martin Eson Benjamin. It proceeds to say that, dear sir, ECGPSP issuance of demand guarantees, payment of fees by Power Distribution Services Ghana Limited. The letter proceeds to say that we make reference to our letter dated 18th February 2019 on the issuance of the demand guarantees for a total value of $350 million US, which is 250 million under the BSA and 100 million under the LAA. And these are the demand guarantees. We've spoken to you about how they are too. Car Bank Limited hereby right to notify MIDA of the receipt of an amount of $8 million as deposit towards the payment of the fees charged for the issuance of the demand guarantees for a total value of 350 million.
Okay.
The last part of this one says all documentation for the issuance of the demand guarantees have been completed, and the processes for the issuance of the both demand guarantees have commenced and are expected to be completed by 22nd of February 2019. This is signed by Philip Oredu, who is titled Executive Director.
Car Bank.
Yes.
So this first letter shows that indeed ECGPSP, the PDS, in fact, did make the payment.
8 million first part.
To Car Bank.
Yes.
Car Bank confirms that yes, we received the money. But this is not all the money there was to the premium. There's a second Car Bank letter again. That is a debit advice.
Yes. This goes straight to the manager of the Power Distribution Service. The address is there. It is dated the 30th of May 2019. Note the difference. One letter is prior to the concessionaire agreement starting on March 1. This letter is after the concessionaire agreements have started. It says here, debit advice. Please be advised that your account number, and it's there, with Car Bank Limited was debited with an amount of $4.25 million US. This happened on the 9th of May 2019. And the explanation is there. It said, this is in respect of demand guarantee fees. Together, we are talking about 12.25 million.
In all.
Yes.
That the evidence shows that PDS indeed paid
12.25 million to Car Bank
to secure
demand guarantees.
The demand guarantees. And this last letter, the debit advice, is signed by Desmond Otu, Financial Control Department.
Yes.
Now, here is the thing, though. So you're asking, why, if we are dealing with our Al-Qud, why are we paying it to Car Bank? So this was the arrangement as we've made to understand. PDS pays money to Car Bank. Car Bank then yesterday pays money, was supposed to deal with the Ghana insurers in this matter were Downwell Insurance. And if you listen to our story yesterday, we told you that emergency meeting
on the
28th included Downwell, Car Bank, PDS, and all those officials. Car Bank takes the money, pays that money to Downwell. Downwell then was supposed to take that money because the kind of amounts involved, Downwell alone by themselves could not carry it all. And so they were going to bring in the reinsurers, Al-Qud. But to go to the reinsurers, Car Bank deals with a broker. A broker. The broker, we have the letter from the broker, and this broker is called Joe Australia Reinsurance Brokers. So Downwell then will have to deal with the brokers, and the brokers would then finally deal with Al-Qud in the matter. So this is, in terms of the trail of evidence and documents we have documents to show that PDS indeed did their part of the job by paying
the 12.25 million
required to secure the guarantees.
To Car Bank.
And Car Bank receives the money and acknowledges receipt to MIDA.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, that's the point that we need to make.
Which is important. Let's emphasize that point.
The point here is that the letter from Car Bank went straight to MIDA, informing them that the grouping known as PDS had paid this amount of monies towards the issuance of the demand guarantees.
Yeah. And why MIDA? Because MIDA, they were executing this whole thing.
Yes, MIDA is actually the authority in charge of the entire Millennium Challenge account and Ghana's engagements with them.
Okay. Yeah. So Car Bank says, yes, I received the money from PDS. What we don't have evidence to show is the onward transfer from Car Bank to Downwell, from Downwell to the broker.
Yes, Joe Australia.
And from the broker
to Al-Qud.
We don't have the evidence. And that is not to suggest that Car Bank didn't make those payments. We just don't have the documents. The documents we have is what we've told you. However, there is a letter that we also have intercepted now and have secured, which was just written yesterday. From Al-Qud to
the Joe Australia Reinsurance Brokers.
Who are the brokers? Who are supposed to be the intermediaries between Downwell
and Al-Qud?
Now, this is very interesting. What does this letter say from Al-Qud? This was just yesterday.
Yes.
Dated.
The letter is actually dated 31st of July 2019. The letter has its reference number. It actually references Joe Australia Reinsurance Brokers, which is in Jordan. Not in Australia. Now, it attentions the man by name Firas Wadhab. The subject is Joe Australia reference, and it gives a long one. And says, Dear Firas, this refers to the subject placement cover note in respect of power distribution services - Car Bank.
So, and that's interesting.
That's what establishes the connection between
Al-Qud is saying, referencing Car Bank, because Car Bank received the initial amount of money for the premium. And so they are aware that, Car Bank was involved in the deal somehow.
The next line says, please treat this letter as a formal notice of cancellation.
And don't worry, I'm sure you are scratching. When I read it, I was scratching my head as well. Why are they cancelling
if it doesn't exist in the first place?
Because they've said in July 16 that we don't know anything about this. We have been defrauded.
You are dealing with a fraudulent person. The entire exercise is forgery.
15 days later, they are saying we are cancelling something that might have existed. Let's read on that letter.
And says, in this respect, we wish to advise that since our Al-Qud has not received the premium.
So it's going to answer the question, why are they cancelling the insurance?
Yes. And says, since Al-Qud has not received the premium and a notice of cancellation has already been issued, that is notice before cancellation, not the cancellation itself. This is the cancellation. I notify you ahead of time that I'm going to cancel it. And it proceeds to say, the reinsurance coverage arranged by your intermediary on this risk also subsequently stands cancelled. Yes. So, actually, all of our conversation about demand notice and all of that ended between our courts and the brokers.
Yes.
Yesterday.
So it was yesterday that our court writes formally to say we've cancelled
this particular engagement we have with you.
Yeah.
Because you've not paid us the 12.25 million.
And however, we've just showed you and demonstrated the evidence to show you that indeed PDS indeed paid the 12 point something million to secure the premium. They paid. They paid to Carbank. Carbank writes and says we've received it. Writes to me and says we received it. We even show you that the account we paid. Carbank somehow, as this letter shows from our code says we haven't
not received the amount of money.
The premium. And so we've cancelled it. Nothing exists. Now, by the way, this is signed by, and this is even the person who signs it is interesting. This letter that says we've cancelled is signed by the same gentleman who wrote in response to ECG's letter telling Ghana and ECG that you've been defrauded.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about the guarantee.
Osman Haq Musa.
He signs this letter yesterday saying that the insurance guarantees has been cancelled.
And he is the same person who goes by the title Chief Officer General Insurance.
Now,
Chief Officer General Reinsurance, to be specific.
We have questions, and a lot of questions. First of all, how is it possible that our court, within 15 days, in one breath, says, we are not aware because you've been defrauded. The thing doesn't exist. We don't know anything about it. The guy who came to sign the documents misrepresented himself and defrauded you. 15 days later, that same organization, same individual, writes to the broker, saying to the broker that we've cancelled the guarantee. If you say you've cancelled it, it presupposes that something existed before the cancellation. That you knew that the deal existed before the cancellation.
That's the conundrum in this. Because on one hand, we're told that it's forgery. The person was not supposed to sign it. We don't even do the kind of thing that
we don't do it. We don't do it. We don't know about it.
On the other hand, we are told that we have cancelled it because you failed to pay
the premium.
But we have shown today that payment indeed moved from PDS first on 21st February. Second, somewhere in May, 30th of May, evidence suggesting that 8 million and 4.25 million was paid. In all, we are talking about 12.25 million US dollars was paid to Carbank. What we have stated categorically here is we do not have any evidence or further trail that suggests that Carbank paid to Downwell.
And Downwell to
paid to
broker.
The Joe Australia grouping, who is the broker in this particular case.
And most importantly, whether broker
paid to the final group, Alkut.
But Alkut writes to us yesterday and saying that yeah,
it's not paid.
That we've done deal with you.
Yes.
And we agreed that you pay the premium subsequent to the deal. You haven't paid the premium, and so we are cancelling the deal. But that same Alkut, 15 days earlier,
was of the opinion that we can't even
we don't know anything about this. We can't do this deal. So these are questions that I guess, and let's explain why. Let's explain this. Today, Information Minister announces that there is a government delegation that's going to leave on Tuesday, I think he says, to Qatar to further verify all this. And now you understand why they have to do this. Because the questions. Is it because the first instance, Alkut says our signatures were forged. The question can be asked legitimately. Is it the same Alkut that is writing yesterday's letter?
Both letters, yeah.
I mean, is it the same individual Alkut? Or again, somebody is trying to play a trick on us?
Which of these is a true reflection of the directive of Alkut?
Exactly.
And which of them is the fictitious one?
Yeah, because...
Or has there been a change of mind between the system to the very first day? Within the 15 days you are talking about?
And where is the money?
That's perhaps the most important question.
The 12.25
million.
The 12.25 million that PDS paid to Carbank. Where is it? If indeed Alkut didn't receive it, where is that money?
That's the multi-million-dollar question.
Raymond, thank you very much. There's more on this. I want to bring in somebody who is going to help us break this down for you. If you're struggling like we've done all day to make sense of this, he's an insurance marketer, Edgar Redu. I hope he's on the line with us because he's been on for a while. Edgar, thank you for your time.
Yeah, brother, how are you doing?
Edgar, you can understand. I mean, we need to go through the documents so audiences can understand where we are with this, and so that's why I'm grateful that you managed to stay on. I mean, thankfully you understand these details better than most of us. And let me ask the question that I guess is the biggest elephant in the room. How this 12 plus million that indeed we have trailed that PDS did pay for to secure the premium. Yesterday, as we've just indicated, Al-Qut writes to the broker and say we haven't received, we are cancelling it. How is it possible that this trail will happen? The money will be paid. There's evidence to show the money premium has been paid, but doesn't get to reinsurer. Explain for me how this works in your industry, or well, how this could have even been possible in your industry.
Yes, let me first explain one thing here. PDS is taking up a responsibility, and by so doing, they are required to post a guarantee to actually make sure that if they fail to perform as indicated in the contract, they will have to pay a penalty of a certain amount. And that amount is $350 million US. Unfortunately, a lot of noise has gone on in the media suggesting that $18 billion or 18 billion CD worth of ECG's equipment has been given to PDS, and then they have come with a fake guarantee. No, let's understand it. They are to post a performance guarantee in the sum of $350 million US. So what we are talking about is that should there have been any problem, PDS would have paid that $350 million US.
Okay.
Now, that $350 million US, you are asked, bring a guarantee, a demand bond guarantee, such that the moment we identify and say you have failed based on XYZ, whoever guarantees you will pay the money.
That is our insurance. We want the cushion.
No. That is PDS, and then is it an ECG?
ECG, yes. I mean, when I say our, I mean, ECG is our. So me and you. That's the people's insurance.
Exactly, good. Now, so PDS approaches CalBank. And that is how CalBank comes in and says, okay, we will give you that guarantee. You understand? We will give you that guarantee. And then the fees to pay for that guarantee is probably the figures that you are mentioning there.
Okay, so the figures, and just to be very specific again, if you're just joining us, the first is the $8 million, and then the second is $4.25 million. If you add all together, you're talking about $12.25 million.
Right.
Yes.
So that is the fees for the guarantee that they are going to issue. Now, CalBank needs a certain support. So CalBank now approaches Danwell Insurance Company to give them a counter indemnity, which means they are going to support them should there be any problem. So Danwell Insurance accepts to be a supporter of CalBank, and he charges CalBank a premium of $7 million. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the $7 million is paid to Danwell Insurance. Now, Danwell Insurance, in also protecting itself, gets some local companies here, about 5 or 6 companies, to be part of the risk, which means they are spreading the risk, sharing it. So the local companies here also accept some of the risk, 5%, 1%, 1.5%, 2%, and all that. Good. And they also get the premium for the risk they have accepted. The excess is now going to go outside the shores of this country. And that is where the reinsurer is important. Now, to get into such a market, you need someone who is versatile in that particular area. So you call on the reinsurance broker, and in this case, it is the Joe Australia, who is the reinsurance broker, who has the duty to place the excess risk outside. Well, it so happens that Joe Australia manages to speak with Al-Qut, and then a document is issued to back the guarantee that CalBank issued.
Let's just qualify something you said. Manages to speak to an individual purporting to be representing Al-Qut. I mean, just to cover our bases, because that is a bone of contention.
Well, so far as I understand, you are not dealing with an individual, you are dealing with a company. So, for instance,
I just mentioned that because we have two individuals in the company. One who says the junior signed something, but it didn't have the authority. You know what I mean? So there is that controversy there. So just to qualify them, just cover our own basis.
Where you come
exactly.
From.
Yes.
Yeah. So here is the situation. Now, Downwell Insurance transfers the money to Joe Australia, the premium that is required to place that risk with the reinsurers. And you can check this from from Bank of Ghana, and you will see that Downwell actually transferred the money through Bank of Ghana to Joe Australia for him to place the risk and pay the premium. We were sitting down and we started hearing all these things. And I felt so sad, especially when I heard someone saying that the document is fake because someone not authorized to issue it and XYZ and a whole lot of things. If you say that document is fake, that document is just a backing document to what Carl Bank has issued. So you cannot call Carl Bank's document fake, because Carl Bank is the original guarantor of the bond. He is only asking for support from people. And it is like the way insurance operates. If you, if you walk into an insurance company you want to insure your property, you pay the premium to the insurance company. That is that's the end of the business. If there's any problem, you are going to the insurance company. The insurance company can decide to deal with about 20 more reinsurance companies on behalf, just because of that your particular risk.
Okay.
You see, the insurance company looking at the risk and say, look, this may be too big for me. I cannot handle it. So I want to spread it. And he can deal with about 20 more companies.
Yeah, and the amount involved is huge. And so that's understandable.
So here is a situation that if the problem was with the Carl Bank's guarantee, then we have a case. But Carl Bank's guarantee is authentic. What Carl Bank is saying is that he needs other people to come and help him out. Okay? And here he speaks with Downwell Insurance. Downwell Insurance has given him a counter indemnity. Can you tell me that the counter indemnity issued by Downwell is a fake one? Certainly not. Downwell has secured support from other 5 or 6 local insurance companies. Can you tell me that those documents are fake? Certainly not. The problem we have here is that the reinsurer, who is expected to receive premium from the reinsurance broker, has not received that, the premium.
And that is the letter that they just wrote yesterday, barely 24 hours ago.
Exactly. So, and sadly, in the letter, they are not saying that the one who signed the document has made the document null and void, but they are saying that they are cancelling the guarantee because they have not received the premium. And
that raises a big question about their earlier letter on the 16th of July.
Exactly so.
Because in this latest letter, it's an admission that we did a deal. It was legitimate deal. We expected you to pay the premium to finalize that deal. The premium had not come, and so we are cancelling it. It totally contradicts your earlier position that says it was procured by fraud, and Ghana had dealt with a fraudulent individual who misrepresented and forged signatures.
Exactly so. Exactly as you have summed it up. So that is actually the state on the ground. But as I said, you asked the question earlier that where's the money?
Yes, that's a bigger question. Where is the money that was supposed to go from broker?
I wouldn't want to make it easier for you, but I'll just ask you to do one thing. Go to Bank of Ghana and ask them, you want documents covering the transaction between Downwell Insurance and Joe Australia, and Bank of Ghana will release the money and will release the documents to you, and you see that truly Downwell forwarded the money to the reinsurance broker. And it was the duty for the reinsurance broker to place it there.
So what, as we speak, and based on the trail we have, it appears that the bigger questions and the team that is now traveling abroad to verify this must definitely speak to Joe Australia reinsurance brokers.
Yes, Joe Australia reinsurance brokers, they are in Jordan.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, they are in Jordan. But we are not going to Jordan. We are going to Qatar.
You are going to Qatar.
So what you're saying is that tonight is, if we really want to get to the bottom of this, we also have to go to Jordan and meet Joe insurance brokers.
Exactly.
Okay.
But as I said, the most important thing is that if you are able to get to Bank of Ghana will show you all the documents relating to the transfer. And that should I think maybe that should be the first point of call for the people to know that the money was actually transferred before they move out there.
Well, listen, this is one big complex subject, call it whatever, but it's one of those issues that as you begin to appreciate and read more on it, it beats you. So where we are tonight is, and this is just latest information from 24 hours, somehow Alcoot is now admitting that the deal was done, it was legit, but they cancelled it because Primo didn't come. Exactly. From what you and I are explaining to us, is very possible that that money is locked up between brokers and the missing link is between the brokers and the reinsurers in Qatar.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, go on.
And one of the things is that there are a few technicalities in this regard. The technicalities being that I'm not too sure whether that particular transaction was arranged on a facultative basis or it was done on a treaty basis. Because you see, facultative basis, you pay the money straight away. Treaty basis are something that is like special arrangements, agreements that exist between the two companies. That is the broker and then the, the reinsurer, right? Such that you agree to cover some businesses to a certain level and the monies will come in as and when. So even you can take a cover that you may not receive money, but when the claim comes, you have to pay. I am yet to establish that fact, but as it stands now, from the little that I have been able to gather, I want to believe it may not be in that direction, but it will probably be on facultative basis. And if it's on facultative basis, then the money should have been paid to the people straight away. As to why the money is out there, it's something that happens within those kind of people. And normally, I'll tell you one thing for a fact, because of these kind of arrangements that goes on, the African insurance companies prefer dealing with the African reinsurance because they see them all to be straightforward and easy to handle. Those people outside at times do create problems for the industry. And I think this is one of such matters. But then, the problem we are facing is this. The nature of the demand bonds, you recall one case of Ivory Finance and then SIC. I don't know if you remember that case.
No, I don't. I mean, but what does it teach us?
The demand bonds are troublesome bonds, and for that matter, people don't like to underwrite them. Because you see, what happens is that it does not give the insurer or the guarantor any opportunity to ascertain whether the claims that are being made on him are genuine or not. You understand?
Yes.
So it makes it difficult for most of the time. Most of the insurers do not want to even underwrite that particular bond because they are such that they can just create unnecessary problems for people. The industry is now trying to work something around it. I recall the insurance commissioner is putting up a team to see how best we can work around that because it's getting too much in the industry. And these are the difficulties. That is why you find that trail going through some places and some places. You may be surprised.
I mean, and I guess the question, one of the key questions I want to ask you finally is that, is it normal practice in this industry to use brokers such as we did in Jordan?
Oh yes, it's a normal. No, because they understand that kind of market. Because see, for instance,
because some may wonder why didn't Danwell just go straight to Alcoot and just do the deal?
No, it's not a question of going straight to Alcoot. What we're saying is that you want to place a risk. Even here, at times locally, to get cover even from Ghana Re and then mainstream Re and other things, at times it takes us days because they also would have to be talking to probably their retrocessioners and other people, whether they can also absorb the risk, especially when it's of a certain magnitude. So it is not as simple that straightforward that you can just go there. No. Some of the risks could be very huge, and then the next you realize people are talking to brokers in Mexico, some in South Korea.
And very briefly say in 1 minute, in this case, what value does this broker bring to this deal? What does it bring that we couldn't have done directly with Alcoot?
Because you don't know all the people who are out there who can absorb the risk. That is their field. They know the people around the continent. They know the people outside the continent. As I said, for one particular advertise, it's very difficult to get placement immediately.
So what you're saying is that this broker would have shopped around, found the best deal and who can carry this risk, and
Exactly.
then do the deal on your behalf.
Exactly.
Okay. Listen, I'm grateful that you joined us with that explanation. That is Edgar Redu. He's an insurance marketer and understands these matters, as you've heard. So listen to This is News Tonight on Enjoy 99.7 FM. Listen, a number of you have listened to us and wondering the details. So we're trying to simplify this for you if you go on to my Joy Online, also on the Joy News channel very, very shortly. I've just been joined on the telephone line right now by the executive director with the Africa Center for Energy Policy, who has been listening in. He has an input to make on this. Benjamin Boakye, you held a press conference yesterday with these further revelations that had come to light. What's your reaction to all this?
Evans, I feel scared. It's quite scary how this octopus arrangement was allowed, to support what the agreement sought to achieve, really, with the guarantee. And first, to clarify that the 18 billion that was thrown out was actually to mention how much ECG is worth, for which reason a guarantee of $350 million is required. So there is no misrepresentation there. I heard Mr. Edgar trying to say that maybe we're putting out the wrong information, but there's clarity on why those numbers were put out. So you know how much the company is worth, and you don't toy with the guarantees to ensure that you can securitize that asset that you are giving out. So the agreement was specific to the extent that the guarantees that will be issued should be so liquid that ECG can call on it as and when it's required. For example, if in a particular quarter PDS fails to make payments to ECG doesn't have to go through back and forth litigation with PDS. They just go to the bank and call on the LC. For example, if they have to pay Gridco, any generator, they call on the LC to satisfy that requirement so that the sector can run, so that the system can run. But the octopus that has been explained to us, there's no money sitting anywhere. And it could take you years to trace to be able to chase it. So it tells you that the managers of the process really failed to do their work to ensure that there was proper guarantee that was liquid, to justify why we should give this investment to a private company. So this insurance thing is bogus and should never have happened.
So where we stand now, with the revelations that has happened, and the proof that PDS indeed had paid the money to get the guarantees, etc. If the evidence that we have is what the government delegation still checks out, is your expectation that PDS will be reinstated?
I mean, first of all, there was no guarantee in essence. So if what
yes
is supposed to have given to Ghana can be traced to be non-existent, there was no guarantee because Cowbank cannot cough $350 million today. That is the reality. They cannot. So if you give a paper and that paper cannot trace that money, there is no guarantee. The guarantee doesn't exist. So the period that PDS has worked, if we were to call on the guarantee, we wouldn't have had the money. Assuming that the audit that will be done shows that PDS did not pay everybody fully and the money doesn't exist, there is no guarantee to call on. Cowbank doesn't have the muscle to be able to cough $350 million. And that is the danger, and that is the threat we face right now. And we should only pray that PDS did not abuse the revenue that came.
Benjamin Boakye, I'm grateful that you joined us. That is the Executive Director with the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Still ahead, the NDC minority is alleging political patronage and a scheme to rip off the taxpayer, leading to the suspension of the ECG concession arrangements with PDS. They claim to have evidence to back this claim.
Government and officialdom are neck deep in this failed attempt to create, loot, and share.
We have a reaction from the Information Minister, who has also been addressing a news conference as government issues a 30-day deadline for completion of probe into this unfolding scandal. And also later, as we continue our campaign for media freedom, we'll hear the views of a former Information Minister on boycott of media houses by government. His own government, whilst he was there, did same We'll hear from him.
Will boycott multimedia, which as a journalist I thought was wrong. I don't think that government should ever boycott a particular radio station, however negative they are.
And if you have plans of burying your dead anytime soon, prepare to pay more for the services of funeral criers in Kumasi. Here's why.
The demand has gone high, so we have to increase our prices.
When we return from the break, I'll share a few of your messages coming through on our WhatsApp console. Stay with us.